outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and we've got a great guest with us today, talk about an organization in our community that's doing great things, and that's Jerry Easter, who's the director of the Shelby County Veterans Court. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Jerry, I've heard lots of good things about what you guys are doing down there, and tell our folks a little bit about the Veterans Court and why it was created to help veterans in Memphis.
Sure. First off, Veterans Court is a veterans treatment court. And the whole objective of a treatment court is to identify issues that participants have and then address those issues with treatment. Judge Bill Anderson started the Veterans Court in 2012. We're about to celebrate our 10th anniversary on July the 20th, and set it up so that when every morning we get a list of all veterans that were arrested the night before. They can identify during the pretrial interview for bond conditions as to whether or not they've ever served in the military. If they self-identify, then that file is flagged and sent to Division 7 of General Sessions Criminal Court, Judge Anderson's court. We have an administrator of admissions and data director, Michelle Alexander. She then reaches out to that defendant and advises the defendant that they could or might be eligible to participate in the veterans program. It requires that we verify their veteran status through either A, their DD-214, which is their discharge document, or if that's unavailable, sometimes we can verify through the local VA hospital and their database that we don't have access to. Assuming that they meet that veterans criteria, and we can talk more about that in a minute if you'd like, because not all veterans are created equal in the eyes of the VA and so forth. But then we review the charge, and the only categories of charges that we do not accept are rape and crimes in which the victim is a child. The guilt or innocence of the defendant is immaterial to us. If they agree, they sign a contract to participate in the program. Alan, you'll probably appreciate this. After 45 years of practice, I drew the contract. I'm not sure I'd sign it. It's pretty draconian. But they agree to come into the program, which lasts at least a year. And they agree to random and frequent drug screens. They're required to call in every day. I tell them they have to call in every day the sun rises in the east. If it ever rises in the west, I'll forgive their not calling. But if it rises in the east, they have to call to check on whether or not they're scheduled for a drug test. They have to come to court once a week. They'll be assigned a case manager. We have 3 wonderful ladies case managers, Yasma Boga, Helen King, Carlicia Macklin. They all do a wonderful job in keeping up with our guys, keeping them, I say guys, we accept men and women, and having them report into their case managers, sometimes as much as 3 times a week. And we send them then to the VA. The VA has agreed to assess all of our people to determine what it is that exactly brought them into the criminal justice system. Is it homelessness? Is it unemployment? Is it psychiatric issues, PTSD? Is it alcohol or drug addiction? What in the range of possibilities are the problems? And oftentimes we'll find that it is, well, never is it one issue. It's always a myriad of issues. We then assign a treatment protocol. It could be intensive outpatient in a group environment. It could be inpatient. It could be individual outpatient therapy. It could be a list of different treatment modalities to address those issues. And if they successfully complete the treatment, and if they are clean for at least 90 days at the end of the year, then they can graduate. Many of them don't make graduation within the first year. I tell them it's kind of like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can't leave until you have accomplished what you set out to accomplish. And so in a thumbnail, that's basically what the court is and what the court does. Judge Anderson's done an excellent job in creating a team of people that have created a court that is recognized. The state started keeping data on treatment courts in 2016, I think, and Shelby County Veterans Court has led the state consistently in, by far and away, the majority of those data points. Our recidivism rate remains well below the state and national average. And in fact, we're beginning to be recognized nationally. Judge Anderson and myself will present to the National Association of Treatment Court Professionals in Nashville later this month on a panel trying to explain what we have done in our program in recognition of the fact that our program has, by all accounts, been quite successful.
You said that there were lots of causes. I would imagine that drugs and alcohol play a big role in a lot of folks' problems that may have been caused by other things, as you say, PTSD or other problems. Is that your experience?
Yeah. Drug and alcohol problems are almost universally symptoms rather than the problems. And for years, the treatment was, well, you can't treat the root cause until you get the addiction under control. Well, that's the chicken and the egg. You ain't going to get addiction under control until you start dealing with the root problem. So now, years ago, we recognized and began doing a co-occurring treatment. You know, when I was coming up, when I joined the Marine Corps, they still had the draft. Well, now they don't have the draft. It's all volunteer to enter. Well, Alan, you know as well as I do, there aren't many people who volunteer to go into the military from Harvard or Yale or a lot of different places. And most of the people who have joined the military are joining for many reasons, but not the least of which is to get away from something and to make something better of their life. And so they go into the military already wounded, as it were, and then oftentimes the military simply exacerbates that heretofore induced trauma, so that that trauma rears its ugly heads in all kinds of different ways. But yes, alcohol and drugs is a big theme. There aren't many folk in our program that don't have one or the other at some point in their life.
Is that addiction a big driver in folks taking more than the year to complete the program?
Yes. Addiction's hard to quit. You can't, that saying, just say no is so much, they can wish to quit all they want, but it's hard. It's just hard. I mean, Ellen, I'm 74 years old and I started smoking when I was 14, and I've tried to quit more than I got fingers and toes, and I'm still sucking those dang things.
Yeah.
It's hard to quit. So yes, that's the primary reason for extending their period in the program.
Well, I would imagine the specific nature of your court dealing just with that subset population. Talk about how that's helpful in achieving success, because I imagine your caseworkers really get to understand what it takes to help a veteran as opposed to a non-veteran go through the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, Judge Anderson has both. He has a regular criminal court docket, and then in addition, he does the Veterans Court issues. But as for the Veterans Court and its population, veterans, to steal a line from some movie I watched the other day, have a unique skill set. I told Judge Dwyer the difference between my folk in Veterans Court and your folk in drug court is that every one of my people have had at least some training on how to kill you. So, but veterans have had experience on following rules. They have experience in discipline. They have experience in the cohesiveness of a unit, of a group. And our program tries to create that sense of unit and group. We have many, many times where one of our participants will reach back and help one of the other participants come along in a unit type idea. I explain to the veterans when they come in during orientation that our objective is to give back to you that. I ask them, do you remember when you graduated boot camp? And they'll say, yeah. I said, you were proud of yourself, weren't you? You held your head up, your shoulders back. You looked the world in the eye. You had self-confidence. You had pride in yourself. You didn't have pride in yourself when you were in the backseat of that police car. You didn't have pride in yourself when you were blowing coke. You didn't have pride in yourself when you were shooting heroin. My objective is to give you back that self-pride and that self-respect that you had the day you graduated boot camp. And you can't do that doing dope. So yes, it is a very special population.
How much do you think active combat plays in folks ending up in your court?
Are like the Middle Ages concept of a sin eater. They take all of the problems of all of our participants onto themselves and try to help it and try to work it. And it's very, very stressful on the staff. And we have to take care of each other on the team. And so it's a real labor of love for everyone involved.
How much does active combat play in this? And do you think that since we're out of Afghanistan and so forth, do you think you may see a decrease in participation, or is that negligible?
It's certainly not negligible, but I've got some figures here. Let's see. Our population as of 2020, which is the most recent data I have available to me, showed that the age distribution was 25 to 34 was 41% of our participants. 35 to 44 were 25% of our participants. But we have participants over the age of 65. So you can't come out of Afghanistan on day one and then assume that, okay, the spigot's turned off, because I've been diagnosed with PTSD. As you may know, I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran. I wrestled with it for 50 years before I ever accepted it. And it led me down some dark paths. And so, no, I don't think that'll materially drop during the time. One of my favorite quotes from one of my participants was an older veteran, an old Vietnam era veteran like myself. And his name was Muhammad. He had been using crack cocaine for 50 years. When we found him, he was homeless, ragtagged, and nasty. Didn't weigh 100 pounds. It took him 2 years, but finally he got through the program. He showed up at graduation shining like a new penny. He had on a new suit of clothes. He had a new brim, shoes shined. I said, man, Muhammad, you looking good. And he turned to me and he said, Mr. Easton, when you stop spending all your dough on blow and hoe, you can have nice things in this world.
I guess that's right.
That's what I'm trying to get them all to understand.
Yeah. How many successful graduates has the court seen, Jerry?
427 until the 20th of this month, at which point it'll be 437 or so. We've had 496 participants. So that's a pretty good graduation rate out of those participants. As I say, our recidivism rate is either the last time they had data, it was 9.7%. It's probably higher than that now because of COVID. Everything went crazy over COVID, but it ain't much higher than that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fab. I mean, that's a lot of people to, deflect the trajectory of their life. Because if they had just gone through a regular criminal process, to be in and out of jail, and they wouldn't have been addressing those core problems. It's got to be a great feeling to know that you've affected that many people.
Well, but that many people multiplies because every addict has a family somewhere. Many of them have children. Many of them have wives, mothers, and so every one of our participants that gets their act together and gets back on the straight and narrow can set an example for their children, because we're learning more and more about how examples to a child affect adult behavior later on. So we're saving back. We're saving the grief of the domestic violence that so often accompanies addiction and PTSD. We're saving the tears of the mothers. So it's a multiple of that 427 people.
What can our listeners do to help your mission?
Well, first, they can vote for Bill Anderson's reelection on August the 4th. Second, if they know, no one can participate in Veterans Court unless they are a veteran with a criminal case pending. But if anyone out there knows of a veteran that has a criminal case pending, please ask them to look into Veterans Court. It ain't easy. It ain't a get out of jail free program, but if they want help, we got it and we can give it to them. We also have created a 501c3 entitled the Shelby County Veterans Court Foundation, which can be found on the web and other Facebook and other places. If they choose to donate money, that foundation helps carry the burden of the financing. The county provides the salaries for the staff, but all the treatment has to be paid for through donations or grants or other outside funding. And so when Bill asked me to take this job 10 years ago, he said, come on in for a part-time gig. Well, you know about part-time gigs.
That's right.
I said, I'll do it, but I don't want to mess with politicians and I don't want to mess with money. Well, unfortunately, I spend most of my time dealing with politicians and trying to hunt money. But we have been successful at that. Our budget now is pretty hefty. I have to try to find $500,000 to $600,000 a year to keep it running, and that's a challenge.
Well, Jerry, we're going to put up the website address on the screen. There it is for everybody. And I agree with Jerry, 1,000,000,000%. Vote for Bill Anderson for re-election for judge. He's a fair judge. He's a good judge. We need to keep him, and he is responsible for this program. And if you have the ability to donate some money, this is an awesome cause. these folks heard the call and served us in the military. Jerry, thank you for your service in the Marines. And if you've got a chance to donate, whether it doesn't matter what it is, just participate and know that you're making a difference in, as Jerry says, in a lot of lives. Well, Jerry, I appreciate it. I think we're just about out of time. Thank you for your presence on the program, and tell Judge Anderson and the whole staff down there, at least from me, that thank you for what y'all are doing for our community. This is the kind of thing that works, and as you say, has a ripple effect. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Alan, thank you for having me on, and on behalf of my staff, Judge Anderson, and more importantly, the veterans of South, I thank you for this opportunity to present our program.
Very good. All right, I'll see you around campus.